Well, as I think I said already, this was a very, very pleasant day, as Friday was until the end, which I'll get to eventually. After breakfast, they all four of them rode to the Museum of Fine Arts and Crafts, and there uh, Yeoman had to go because of his interview, so he headed over. Now, before they even got there, they noticed that there were a lot of pedestrians on Avalon Avenue walking in that direction, and sure enough, they were heading for the Ethno, and they seemed to be coming from East Richland. Which was a kind of a curious thing. But there was plenty of parking at the Fine Arts and Crafts Museum, and it was actually pretty empty. But they could see, not that far away, they could see beyond how crowded it looked around the Ethno. There seemed to be like a waiting line, and so there was a lot of interest. And Violet thought about her good friend Tira. She must be really busy because she had taken on the job of volunteer curator. I guess you'd call her curator. She was managing the Ethno, this new museum. So she must have been pretty busy. She'd been so excited to talk to Violet yesterday, and Violet thought maybe they'd talk some more, but she was going to be too busy. So in they went. Now, Lance, this was also a new world for him. To go to an art museum, it just wasn't in his experience. Art was something that you did in art class in high school, and mostly you played around with colored pencils and this and that, and you kind of talked and had a good time, but he didn't really take it seriously. But here he was looking at things the like of which he'd never seen before. So it added to this feeling that Lance was in an entirely new world. So he wandered around, and actually he wandered mostly with Elaine, because Violet, one of the reasons she wanted to go there that particular day was she wanted to see the facsimile that they had on display of the Codex Nuttall, which is a wonderful work of art from 14th century Miztec culture in Mexico. She wanted to see that because she knew it would bring back memories from back when she lived in the Boston area, going to college. And so she was really taking her time looking at this wonderful display. Most of you probably don't know what that Codex Nuttall is. It's the main thing is it's artwork that you don't understand the language really. It's more than artwork. I don't have time to explain, but anyway, she wanted to see it, and she was taking a lot of time with that, and she thought she'd probably have to come back to see for more time for this too, because she really loved studying that. And she was interrupted a lot by talking to her friends, mostly younger people that were wanting to talk more about what she was doing. So I tell you about this, I guess mainly because the whole time Lance was walking, the main event in these days, these last 2 days, really was for Lance's knee to get better, and it was getting better fast. So they spent that time, and then got in the car and headed off for the botanical garden. It's also an arboretum, the Richard Schultes Botanical Garden and Arboretum. I sort of want to go through this fast because a lot of it you'd think, well, do I really have to tell you? And I guess I maybe don't. But the thing about this, once again, Violet had memories from, she rarely went to these places, but when she did, the memories came flooding back from when she was younger in her college years in Boston. There was the Arnold Arboretum in Boston, and that she used to go to. And Friday, when they'd gone to the Boxwood Hill Cemetery. Well, in a similar way, I don't think I told you, when she was in college, she used to go to the Mount Auburn Cemetery, I think is what it was called. Not because she knew people that were buried there, but just as a way to get out and get above and look at things. So, and all of this was an excuse, not an excuse, but it was something to do while Lance would walk and then sit in the benches. Now, of course, they had their picnic. I'm going through this fast because you probably don't need to know a lot of it. But for Lance, going to the Arboretum was great because it reminded him of one of the things he'd liked most about his college studies was he'd learned the names, the common names and the Latin names of all these trees and bushes and other plants as well. And he hadn't had to use it that much since he got out of college, but it was like meeting old friends to see all these specimens. And so he was taking his time, and Elaine was quite impressed that he knew all these trees. Now, for her view, from her standpoint, there was a fond memory, a delicate memory, really, of times in New York. Because she used to, when she could, if she could go in the company of her mom or dad or both, go to the Bronx, I don't know if they call it Arboretum or Botanical Garden, and spend the day walking around there. So it was all very pleasant. But then they had to leave, they had to go back to make sure that they got Elaine off in time for her second day at work.